Hey, what's happening,
What?
man?
What's happening, everybody? What's up, dude? My brother.
What's up, man?
Not a man. How you been?
Not bad, not bad. I did find out, unfortunately, another buddy of mine ended up becoming a part of the statistic that we are vehemently fighting to no end. And I just want to give a shout out to my brother, frickin' Brandon Ward. You will be missed, man. I love you, and I'll see you on the other side, bro. Um, yeah.
Words is this? Isn't this the guy that we spoke about in, or that you mentioned in that story during our holiday episode last
The
year? Yeah.
very same.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for
Uh,
your loss, there, dude.
yeah. But it is what it is. I'm not exactly sure what happened. We haven't gotten the very full details of it, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna try
Still,
and see if I can make it to his procession when it does happen.
still tragic, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, so we do start on a little bit of a somber note, everybody. But if you're welcome back, if you're joining us again, we appreciate you coming back and supporting the show. This is how we keep ourselves going. When we do this, it's fantastic. If you're joining us for the first time, hi, welcome. This is the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. You're in for a treat tonight because unlike our usual shows, which are awesome in their own right, we've got a little special kind of thing going on tonight. So, um, for those of you that joined us last week, episode 024, that was when we were talking about unresolved trauma and how that can
Mhm.
affect you and how can it affect those around you, all that kind of good stuff, coping strategies, so on and so forth. So hopefully you checked it out. Hopefully you liked it. We had actually quite a bit of engagement with folks here in the chat room.
There was a good amount of interaction, man. I really enjoyed that. That was really fun.
It was good. It was good, and we like talking to the folks that follow our show. So we appreciate that. Please keep it up. We look forward to seeing familiar faces. You become part of our family, or la familia, as they say in Española. So,
And that's right.
but tonight we're gonna do something very very special and excited that we hinted at the beginning of the season. So. Uh, one of the things that we wanted to start doing is interviewing fellow veterans, and do this for a couple of reasons. One, we want to kind of highlight the service that these great individuals have paid to our fantastic country that we live in, but also, secondly, to demonstrate that hey, everybody goes through something. It's not all unicorns and rainbows and peaches and cream and stuff when you're in the military, getting in the military, or even getting out. So we want to showcase that everybody goes through their own struggle and that it's okay to have these struggles. I don't know what this guy is going to say, but it's going to be wild. So buckle up, buttercup, strap yourself in. It's going to be awesome. So what do you say we bring him on the show there, Alamo? So without further ado, let's welcome our guest. This is a friend of ours from high school that we both know from several years ago. He's
Mhm.
a veteran of the Marine Corps. He's got out as medically retired as a sergeant. We want to welcome to the show, Mr. Brent Lee. Fantastic, love it, love
That
it.
was a great intro.
That was awesome, man.
Oh man.
Brent, your mic's muted, man. Your mic is muted.
Oh wait, hold on. Hold on.
I got it. I see
Oh,
it.
okay.
There it is.
Hey, all right. First interview, and we're like messing up already. Fantastic.
Now it's cool. So thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome, man.
This is the pinnacle of my career.
Let's not set those standards up on that mountaintop quite yet. Let's just
Yeah, we'll ease into that one. Just
let's just strap into the struggle bus and we'll ride this motherfucker till the wheels fall off, man. Hell yeah.
Right.
Damn, Skippy.
So Brent, let's get going, man. Let's start talking. So we know Alamo and I both know Brent from high school.
Yeah.
we were all in the ROTC program together when we were in high school. So, Brent, are you originally from Florida, or did you grow up somewhere else? Or
I am, and not just an original Floridian, but I'm an original Sethnerite. Born and raised,
Wow.
born in Brandon Hospital. Grew up all around Sethner.
Nice.
Original Sneffnerite.
Yes.
Like it.
I got street pharmacy in my blood.
Yes.
Nice. Nice. So how would we got to try to keep it together for the first one.
I know.
It's hard. Anyway, so Brent, how would you describe yourself as a kid, youngster, growing up and whatnot?
Well, and I think you guys probably remember this from high school, but even before high school, I was really scrawny. I was shy. I had a mullet before high school, and it went down to about mid-waist. So I was.
You showed me the pictures. I remember.
It turned green, and I had to cut it. It was shoulder length. I didn't get my first friend until I was like in 9th grade, and that was in ROTC actually. And in fact, my first week in ROTC, this is how shy of a kid I was. The principal let my mother in, who did not have custody of me, called me to the hospital, the front office. I saw it was her, and she chased me down the hallway to be stopped by Major Keith.
Wow.
What the heck?
That was my first week in ROTC.
Nice.
That's the kind of kid I was.
That's awesome. So good. So good. So, going to the next part. So, being in ROTC, did you start to consider the military as a viable career? What kind of made you, when did you first consider, saying or thinking to yourself, hey, this might be something I want to do after high school? Like, what was the catalyst behind that?
Well, it actually wasn't in high school. So the only time I ever wanted to be something besides a service member was in kindergarten, where I wanted to be a roofer like my dad. We all go through a phase. First grade, I saw my first Marine Corps commercial where the officer's fighting that lava monster, then he gets his Mandaluyong saber and he's sitting there like, yes, the few and the proud. And I've always wanted to be a Marine since then. I used to dream of going off overseas, fighting in a war and all that crazy nonsense. My grandmother used to tell me I had an old soul because I always played war with my friends. Yeah.
Paintball.
And there was never a question on what branch either. It was always the Marine Corps for me.
No.
I come from a long line of Marines and sailors. Like, I've been doing this ancestry thing. I had apparently a couple relatives, great-great-grandfathers. I have to pull up their names for you guys, but one of them got the Medal of Honor. One of them got a Navy Cross, all kinds of crazy stuff. I had no idea until probably this past year. So it's in the blood, man. Yeah.
Wow. And if it wasn't in the blood, it's that damn commercial where they're fighting the dragon with that Mameluke sword. And it's like,
the Marine Corps always had the best commercials back in the day, man. They really did.
So complex. And then as you age, you realize it's not about fighting that external monster. It's about facing your internal demons. And I think the Marine Corps and all the other branches kind of equipped you to do so. We just don't realize it until we're put into that place.
Yeah, that actually makes perfect freaking sense, man.
No, right? It's all from a commercial.
It's very insightful.
Dude, we're 9 minutes in and we just went deep diving into this stuff. I'm like, it's gonna be a good one. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Sethner education.
Hey, man, you made it out alive, so.
Damn right.
Yes.
All right. So we kind of answered the next question: what made or encouraged you to join? So, and then also, what branch, of the service that you wanted to go into,
and why? Yeah,
and why. So the next question is, what did you, what MOS did you have when you went in? Is it the MOS you wanted? Were you trying to do something else, or they're just like, here you go?
So when it comes to like the positive reinforcement, before I segue into that one, it wasn't what you would think. It wasn't, oh, you should do this or you shouldn't do that. My grandfather is a Vietnam era Marine, and he was studying to be a priest. Then he said he saw the light and joined the Marine Corps infantry one day. So he went from saving souls to sending souls. And he always told me, don't join the Marines. And if you do join the Marines, be an officer. So I didn't listen to anything he said, and I joined the Marines and went infantry because there's only one thing to do in the Marine Corps, your first enlistment, and that's infantry. It's what I wanted to do. I scored pretty well in my ASVAB, and everyone always says they did. No, I really did. They told me the only thing I can't do is be a linguist, which good thing because I can't even spell linguist, let alone do it. But yeah, I got it, and I stayed true to my infantry roots. I had a very high GT and PFT score. So your GT, I think it's like general something kind of knowledge. PFT, that's the Marine Corps version of the physical fitness test or the PT test.
Gotcha.
And at the time, we scaled it on a 300-point system. So I always was in that 290 to 298 mark. Never had a perfect 300. But I scored high enough to where they always tried to invite me out to these indocs. The indoctrinations, for anyone who's not familiar with the acronym there. And it was either for like scout sniper school, your reconnaissance nonsense. I did a EOD indoc, a MARSOC indoc, all this crap.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
Awesome.
I did the indocs. I never did anything else beyond that. It is hard being hard. Those guys are just nuts. I got paid the same to do what I did with less effort. So know yourself, all right? Be true to who you are.
Yeah.
Know thyself. Fantastic. So
yes.
Okay. So when you left for boot camp, when did you leave for boot camp?
So I was an early grad. So I was technically class of 04 with my early graduation, but it still fell into class of 05. You guys all graduated. Well, not you, but the rest of us graduated with the group in 2005. I made it to boot camp though in December of that year. So shortly, right around Christmas, and I was there for an extra week. So instead of 13 weeks, I had a total of 14. I spent a week in receiving.
Jeez.
It was a good time, man. I don't remember it. It was time travel. Your mind gets like set into this mode of, I know it's going to suck, and just do what you're told, right? I mean, no matter how much prepping you do, physical fitness doesn't matter. At least in the Marine Corps, Army is far more physical than the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps is all about your mental state. They tear down who you are and try to rebuild it, and eventually the body will follow.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Super deep dive and all this stuff.
So
so in the Marine Corps you did 14 weeks of basic, and then you go to SOI, which is School of Infantry. Is that correct?
Yes. So your boot camp is actually 13 weeks. I just got the bonus week. So 13 weeks of boot camp. So, the bonus week of receiving. And some people stay longer. It all depends on where you fall in that cycle.
I remember there was when I got to reception battalion at Fort Benning when I was in basic, there were guys that had been there in reception battalion for going on 45 days, and it was rough.
I couldn't imagine.
I got out at 10. I was there for right about 10 days, and then it was like off you go. We landed at. Go ahead.
Did you guys bus in or did you fly in?
So because I was going to Benning, I got on. So I left the my mother had to drop me off at the MEP station over there on Waters Avenue. And then I got dropped off like 5:30 in the morning. Like it was super early. And then about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we got on a bus and drove up to Benning. And we got there about 10 o'clock that night. And I was sitting in like the middle row of the van. And then somebody opened the door and they're like, "If you know it's good for you, you're going to get the hell off my van right now." And I was like, "Oh shit, I regret this already." So, but yeah, because Benning only being up in Georgia, I took a bus. What about you, Alamo?
Yeah. Well, I ended up going in a van.
A van. That's what I meant.
They but like for me, it was a little bit different as to the way Mac did it. When it came to me, my recruiter actually picked me up that morning and brought me to the MEPS. Excuse me. It was like, I think it was probably, I can't remember if it was 5:30 or 6 in the morning, but he picked me up early because he wanted to help me get everything done, get all my paperwork finished up and signed. And I ended up leaving fairly early that morning. They fed me breakfast and then they sent me on my way. I ended up getting there. Yeah. And I ended up getting to Fort Benning roughly around I'm pretty sure it was no later than like 9ish, noonish. I don't remember the exacts, but it was still daylight. It wasn't nighttime for sure. And I
See,
ended up being there for like a week at a freaking oh my god, I'm having a brain fart.
Sandhill.
Sandhill.
Sandhill. Yep. So
stolen valor.
Yeah.
So we took a bus as well, and there was only, I think, 6 of us. And of those 6, I'd say 4 or 5 of us actually stayed together throughout our whole term. But here's a fun one for you. So bus ride up, right? You're all telling your stories. Some of us were a little older, some of us were younger. We went to Golden Corral before we got to Paris Island, right? So great meal, loved it. We got fat and nasty on the government's dime. It was great. So now we pull up to the gates at Paris Island. The MPs, who are always very pleasant, tell us, put it between your legs. Do not look around. So we drive around for about 15, 20 minutes. And the whole purpose of this is to disorient you. So it makes you lose track of where you're at. You know, they do a lot of random left turns, right turns. It's pretty crazy. But in this whole time we were going up, right, we were all joking around like, oh, someone's going to trip. Someone's going to do this. And in front of me, I'm in the back. So there's this guy named Liddy. He's about my size. And it's a van, so it's a passenger van. And you know those seatbelts in the middle row, they're like way over here, and you got to pull them down. Well, drill instructor rips open this van's door. We're all kind of awestruck, like it's finally happening. And Paris Island, if you've never been, it's very industrial. The steam vents are above ground. Everything, you just see steam billowing out. It looks like a warehouse from like, I don't know, the 20s. Or if you've ever seen the Peaky Blinders, looks like one of their warehouses. So we're all trying to run out, and Liddy gets wrapped up in this seatbelt and just eats it face first into the asphalt. Oh. But thankfully, he took it for the team, because as the DIs just swarmed him and made him completely miserable, built a lot of character that day. The rest of us got to yellow footprints with ease.
So I do have.
I like that. He built a lot of character that day.
A lot of character.
So for the folks at home watching, you got to understand what's great about this is like this is kind of the same sort of Brent that we knew in high school.
Yeah,
but this has just been so refined and through. It's like this is like, mwah, if you were a French chef, it's like perfect. All right, this is amazing.
And this is coming to you raw and all uncut. So you're gonna get some good stories here.
Now,
yeah,
you had asked about the School of Infantry thing. So after base or boot camp, we call it. You know, we went to the School of Infantry, which for the Marine Corps is in North Carolina at a place called Camp Geiger, or Camp Giggles, as we like to call it, because it's a good time. It's all fun and laughter. And
that's
you get
SOI East, right?
Correct. Yes. Anything West
There's
Coast.
There's also one on the West Coast.
Nah, it doesn't count.
Jeez. This is amazing. Love it.
Those are Hollywood Marines. And you know what? Yeah, I'm sure they're bigger and tougher, but even if they could beat me up, they're still Hollywood Marines. They don't count.
This is so good. I'm loving this. By the way, Alamo, great idea this was.
Oh, yeah.
Your infantry instructors, the SOI instructors, they're these guys who we refer to them as just being super salty. So their camis are bleached out from the sun. They have all the salt stains on them. You know, everyone wants those salty camis, and then you find out they're bleaching them because you flip up their collars. And you're like, there's no color. Integrity violation.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was. That's where you really learn your trade. You know, for me, I was a rifleman, so I chose to be a rifleman. So an 0311. But you can branch out and be, you know, the 0341, which is a mortarman or a tube stroker, machine gunner, all those good things.
Gotcha. So after you left SOI, where was your first duty station? Was it at Lejeune?
No. So
Okay.
they give you a wish list, right? And you're sitting there and they're telling you, we work really hard to get you at least one of your top 3. So I'm like, oh, cool. All right. So I picked Japan, anywhere overseas, basically, is where I was putting. Last thing I wanted was anything within the U.S. So they send me to Hawaii, Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. Now, not just was it 1-3 Bravo Company. My class and a class ahead of me was sent in to be kind of like a combat replacement because 1-3 Bravo at the time had just finished up, back-to-back deployments. They were the original Phantom Fury Marines, the guys who helped burn down Fallujah. Those were my senior Marines. So they just got beat up. And it wasn't that they lost a lot of people. It was just injuries sustained. So a lot of people were out cycling and getting what we call fapped out short timers. So we refilled the ranks and got ready for an Afghanistan deployment. Which at the time, guys, I had no idea that was even a country. Apparently we were there before Iraq. It's like, what is this? Where is this in relation to Iraq? I was prepared. I was watching them burn down a city on CNN in high school, which again, it's ironic. I watched 1-3 Company go into Fallujah on the news just to end up in 1-3 Bravo Company.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Full circle, man.
Yeah, full circle. So okay, so you end up going to
Afghanistan. Hold on, wait. I gotta ask. You said how long were you in Hawaii?
So I got there. I left in 2008. So I was on island or stationed there for 4 years.
Okay. Did you get to experience your fair share of sighting the mahus, as they called them, on the island?
No, I'm not familiar with that term.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I had I had two Hawaiian guys I served with, and the funny story, mahus were actually the let's just say the he they she they them demographic.
Oh, dude, I've got some crazy stories about them, but I don't think they're appropriate for what's online here. Yeah. And most of them take place out of the Marine Corps, ironically.
Fair enough, but I was just curious because I know I got told so many stories by those guys about that stuff.
You also got to remember too, I was a teenager when I was in Hawaii. So yeah, I turned 21 later on, but I never drank. I'd never been drunk. I've had half a beer in my life. So that whole nightlife thing I didn't go out except to hike and do things like that. I hiked the Triple Peaks, Diamond Head Crater,
nice,
Stairway to Heaven, that kind of stuff. I also stayed as far away from the water as I could because I don't know if you know this, but the Marine Corps is amphibious. That's not in a brochure. Big complaint.
Oh,
so, yeah, but I didn't do any of the partying that most of these guys did. They told me to start doing this thing called a run, swim, run. And I looked at them like they were crazy. I'm like, guys, that's the Navy's gig, right? Apparently not.
So how long were you in? So you get to Hawaii. How long were you in Hawaii before you go on your first deployment, which was to Afghanistan, you said?
Just enough time for a short buildup. So I'd say 6-7 months. We had time for that quick mountain warfare buildup in Bridgeport, North Carolina, North California.
So that was a quick turnaround then.
It really was. And again, I had no idea Afghanistan was a country, but we got all of our cold weather gear, which at the time, which I know you guys are familiar with early war, it wasn't the fancy stuff that we have now. It wasn't crap by any means, but it was multicolored. We still had steel plates. It wasn't this composite stuff that broke up the inertia whenever a round impacted. It was heavy. It was nasty. And it didn't match. Oh, and at the time, too, for IEDs, they were telling us, hey, carry this ridiculously large grappling hook, throw it on it, and slowly pull it towards you. Cool.
And I dealt with some EOD guys when I was in Iraq, and they've done some crazy shit. But that's
dude, EOD is nuts, aren't they?
Yeah.
Man, I had this experience. We found an IED, right? And we call in EOD because we got in trouble for blowing it up on our own. We had C4, so we were always just blowing them in place. We got in trouble, so we had to call EOD. And so EOD shows up.
I don't see the problem with that.
No, not at all.
Well, there's this Army Sergeant First Class, all right? So gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, Sergeant First Class. I think it was like Staff Sergeant Nail, or not Staff Sergeant, Sergeant First Class Nail, something along those lines. Either way, he looks at it. He looks at the situation. You know, we're briefing him. We set up the outer cordon and the inner cordon. He gets his little fancy suit on, and he starts walking towards it, nice and slow and bulky. And he gets, man, the distance from me to this webcam, super close. Like he can breathe and touch this thing. And it goes off, like blows up. And you'd think, oh, it's missed, right? He's gone. No, this dude, and again, it's like the world is slowing down. Dude sits up, walks back to us. Guys on the outer cordon are going nuts. We're looking to see if there's a trigger guy, looking for anyone with a cell phone or anything that looks suspicious. I don't know, looking for Waldo for all I know, right? But this dude stands up, walks to us, takes his helmet off, shakes his head. That's the coolest shit I've ever done. And that's the kind of person that's an EOD. Well, the rest of us were just like,
you know, it was funny too, because like my platoon, for whatever odd reason, we were really good at finding caches, and to this day, I still don't understand why we were so good at it, but we were really good at finding caches. So EOD was kind of a regular theme with us.
mm-hmm.
There was a certain point in our deployment when EOD just kind of rolled out with us, just because, all right, Havoc platoon's going out. They're going to find something to blow up. Yeah. So,
oh, dude, I've got some cool videos of just blowing up all kinds of weapon caches.
I have a few. I got to figure out what freaking thumb drive they're on.
It's crazy. You know, you put them in a hard drive and you think they're going to be easy to find. And 10 years later, you're like, oh, I remember. I'm still looking for my picture of an Iraqi midget. I'm sorry, a little person. Short.
No, that's fine.
We've got to be
Fine.
PC.
Vertically challenged individual.
Vertically, yes.
Oh, that reminds me. I got last time about the kid wearing the Warmock jacket. I got to send that to you. Remember we were talking about that?
You spaced out on us there.
Yeah, you did. We kind of lost you for a second. We got worried.
My bad. No, it was I was telling you about there was a kid that I saw when I was going through the town of Mazar-i Sharif, and he walks up and he's wearing that steel gray uniform tunic of an SS soldier. Doesn't have any of like the swastika stuff on it, but it's got the actual stuff on the lapels and whatnot. Like, but I look at it, I'm just like, that's an SS jacket.
Did you click your heels and wave high?
Oh no.
Where was this in Afghanistan?
This was in Afghanistan, bro. I'll send you. I'll email you guys this picture. I meant to find. Dude,
well,
we found all kind of shit over there, dude. We found one like a World War I German helmet that had the spike and stuff on it.
Makes sense.
All that old.
Well, that makes sense because I think the Germans were allied with the freaking Ottomans back then, and I think the Ottomans, that was part of their territory, wasn't it?
I think so. I
think it was.
I don't know.
That's going to have to be a question you ask the Armstrong. He's a huge history buff. He can tell you all that.
Oh, yeah.
That is actually really true.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he qualifies to be on your broadcast. He was in the National Guard. So I don't know. Has it been labeled as a military branch?
Moving right along. Yeah, we're gonna move right along.
We're just gonna segue.
So, how long did you spend in Afghanistan? Was it
well,
about
the Marine Corps does super long deployments, so we spent 6-7 months. Unlike the Army, you know, we get in there, we get the job done, we come home.
Fair.
Shots have been fired.
You mentioned finding all these caches. When I was in Iraq, so Haditha, Iraq, which Afghanistan I enjoyed a lot more. It was much prettier, just better scenery in general. It was more kinetic as well. IEDs suck.
Yes,
Especially in Iraq, they were weaving copper wire through surgical tubing, so the sun dried it out, and whenever you stepped on it, completed the connection, and you just disappeared for a moment.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
the EFPs were even worse.
Oh, dude,
those things cut through freaking Abrams, and Abrams are
experimental charges, man.
Yeah.
Craziness. But so again, I got in a little bit of trouble here and there. So needless to say, I was in trouble and I was running point, and our lieutenant came across this hole in the side of a mountain, and it must have been like this big, not much bigger than me nowadays, right? Actually, it was smaller than me because I don't think I can fit. He's like, all right, Lee, check it out. I'm like, what? What is this, Vietnam? Like a tunnel right here? So I drop my rifle. He hands me his M9, and I move this bloated, dead dog out of the way, and I crawl through this just vile filth. You know,
we were scared of moving dead dogs, man. That because
at this point, I didn't care.
Gave me chills. Just gave me chills right now.
Yeah, at this point, I was like, man, this is going to be a good thing. And I can go to some nice hospital in Germany. I don't know. Either way, threw it off to the side.
Hospital's sounding pretty good right now. Yeah.
So I'm crawling in here, and it's just nasty nonsense. You remember what it's like on the sides of the streets, right? And I get in there, and this cave opens up into this massive cavern. And I have my flashlight, and I see this spring, and it's a spring for a car, and it's about that big. And I have this, oh God moment. And I think this is it. I'm done. We should have called EOD. Like, I think it's over. Turns out I realize what it is, and it's nothing. And I keep crawling back. You remember those big butter cans, the big square ones, or the oil cans?
Yeah.
There's this false wall. So I push behind it, and dude, there must have been 100 different types of AK variants back there, RPGs, RPKs, all kinds of just nonsense. I know.
Nice.
I didn't get any credit for it. It wasn't my find. It was a lieutenant.
Did they at least let you crank the fucking what you call it, the detonator?
No, they let me stir the poo.
So good.
Remember, I wasn't
so glad we're doing this, man.
Yeah. I got in a little bit of trouble here and there. All right. I was very outspoken for me.
Listen, you're not in the military until you get that first Article 15. That's just like, there you go.
It took me 6 years to get a good conduct medal, and I'm proud I got one. They wouldn't give you a medal if it wasn't challenging, all right?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
also true.
Okay, so you're in Afghanistan for, like you said, 6-7 months. You come home, and then how long is it before you go back? How many deployments did you make overall in the course of your service?
In my first 4 years, I did 2 combat deployments.
Okay.
And that was the complete, once you look at the whole career-wise, but in that first enlistment, those were both the deployments took place. After Afghanistan, you have, depending on your unit and where you're located, we had about 6 to 7 months in between, but we were a 3rd Marines. So 3rd Marines has 3 infantry battalions. And at the time, bouncing between 2 wars and keeping one always available. So one was on a MEU, so floating around in like the Pacific somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly rotating. There's always a state of readiness. So we did Afghanistan, Iraq. I didn't re-enlist to stay in Hawaii, so I skipped the MEU. I re-enlisted to go back to Afghanistan.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I never missed a Christmas, though. I'd like to note that. So you guys thinking about joining, holidays are always there. The H in Marines stands for happy. So.
Oh, jeez.
So again, we're setting this standard, the bar for this, for the veteran interview panel, pretty high there, Alamo. It's like
this is
we kind of screw ourselves. It's like, Brent, this is big, this is great so far, and it's only gonna get better. I just know, but it's like, oh man,
we gotta go deep again. It's all right. I get it.
There you go. Okay, so so you did 2 deployments in your first 4 years. How many deployments did you end up doing while you were in the Marine Corps?
2 combat, then 3 total. The reason I don't classify the other one as a combat, even though I was with an infantry unit, it was called Cobra Gold, and it was to Thailand. So the only thing I was combating was alcoholism and senior NCOs and officers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cobra Gold is the one where Pete is always asking, can you tell the Marines to stop drinking Cobra blood? That would be great.
I laughed so hard when I saw that meme, but yes, that is the one. And fun fact, it takes 8 Thai people to fight 1 Marine.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Let me just file that away there. 8.
We're gonna take that notation into consideration.
Now, I don't want someone out there listening thinking, okay, I'm an MMA fighter who's Thai. Well, you're an oddity and you don't live in Thailand because you're with the Western world and you have an awesome hygiene and healthcare system. So you're a beast. Thank you for being there. The guys in Thailand are not.
All right. Let's say that. So, okay, how long were you in the Marine Corps total? Before
6 years and 10 months before being booted out.
Okay.
So 7 years, I tell people.
Okay, just shy of 7 years. Now, you were active duty the whole time. You did not transition to any other component. So you you explain the whole process, like, go into a little bit of detail, like when, getting out. Was that wasn't your choice? As it sounds like.
So, getting out, especially when you're retired, I think there's a couple different trains of thought. From my perspective, I didn't realize what was going on. Now, hindsight's a hell of a thing. Looking back, there's a lot of red flags. I had definitely a lot of anger issues. It would spike here and there, but when you're in a aggressive environment, so you're surrounded by a bunch of alpha male mentalities. And I'll say that as alpha male. I know there's females in the military, and they still have that alpha mentality, though. That's the thing, regardless of the gender that's there. But you have to be like that. So looking back, I was already teetering. Now, in a training event is when I look to it as like the spiraling down of Sergeant Lee. So I ended up getting my last concussion. And it was from training, and it happens. You get hit in the head here and there, you get knocked around. But this last one, all the rest never really fazed me. This one, though, it rocked me. I mean, I ended up spending a total of, for all my concussions, 18 months in vestibular and cognitive therapy. So it was really a good time. But that wasn't the big thing. You can kind of fake the funk. You get dizzy, you get sick, you look a little pale, but you can still fake it, right? I mean, especially if you're dedicated to it. Or you're dumb enough. So luckily I was both. They ended up sending me to the chaplain. And the reason they sent me to the chaplain, we were in this training scenario, and I forget where it was. It was in North Carolina. I forget the training event. It was like a mountain town. And it was one of those situations where they just throw everything at you to see how you're going to react in a no-win situation. Stress you out, everyone's dying, that kind of thing, right? And I was sucking. I mean, I was getting beat up. And all I had left was a few Marines. And I was like, all right, guys, they're saw gunners. So you know what? If we're going down, they're going to find us on a pile of bodies. So I told them to lay down in the middle of the road and just start firing into the crowd. This was training. Again, training, tactical timeout. Need to remind everybody this is not actual events.
By the way, to quote Al, favorite YouTube personalities from the Fat Electrician. If you don't know who this guy is, you check it out. It's not a war crime the first time. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I had that shirt. I almost wore it tonight, but I wanted to, maintain a professional appearance for you guys.
We appreciate that, but next time you're on the show,
yeah, it's okay. Next time I'll be a little laid back. But yeah, so that whole scenario, right? It was bad because at the time the war was changing. It was no longer very kinetic. You were no longer hunting down people. You were trying to win the hearts and minds. I think we realized, as a whole, you have to win the people to win the war. Yeah. So there was no place for that mentality. The lieutenant ended up sending me to talk to the chaplain. The chaplain said, "Hey, you're a little screwy," and they sent me to division psych. And that's when it just was. It was miserable. I mean, the whole before they even decided to retire me, I was seeing. Well, before I got there, hang on a minute. Back up. Focus. So after division psych, Colonel Bradford was the psychiatrist. Really cool dude. They're all cool, but they're always writing notes and making sure they're going to catch you on any lie that comes up, right? So they told me, don't put your uniform on. They took away my weapons cards. They told me I couldn't have anything sharp. They even took my bootlaces. They told me to go to the beach and relax. Just relax. We'll call you if we need you. So that's like how on edge I was. It was a good time, man. I had this one Marine. His name was, I think it was like Zach or Zach, something weird like that. But he had this Harry Potter scar. And I remember him screwing something up. And I was like, dude, not only do you fail in life, your parents failed. So it's in your blood because obviously they failed at the abortion because the scar on his forehead. So you can see. Yeah, it was a dark time for the good Sergeant Lee. All right,
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a
yeah,
little bit.
I was just looking for arguments, like no joke. I was angry, and I didn't know what I was angry at. But I was in therapy 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That was just your psychiatry and your counselors. Then I was also going to neuropsych for the post-concussion syndrome and TBIs. Yeah, and then I had to talk to these counselors periodically just to make sure everything was okay. And they would all, compare notes. And looking back, the amount of confirmation that goes into this to make sure someone isn't just BSing their way through it is insane, because you can cross-reference these notes. These healthcare people do communicate, military or not.
Right.
No, have that in mind whenever you think that dude is just BS and everything. There's probably something that's valid in his story.
No.
It's crazy. It took me a long time to come to terms with that.
I got you. No, that's all good. So when did you officially leave the Marine Corps?
Yeah,
I was medically retired August 30th, 2011. So I got the big boom permanent retirement certificate. I used to have it hanging up on the wall. I don't have it up anymore, but yeah.
I got you.
And I am 100% total permanent.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I can drool in public. What?
Wow.
It's allowed. All right.
So we don't need to answer. We don't need. So let me ask you this. Let me kind of backtrack a little bit. When we were talking about, because obviously, you just kind of answered how you knew it was time to leave. They told you, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So during your service in the Marine Corps, like what would you say were the pros and cons, at least from your perspective, of being in the Marine Corps or just being in the military?
Pros and cons. Again, it was a lifelong dream. So that was the pinnacle of everything I thought life was going to be. I mean, I always wanted to be that Marine. So getting that EGA was a defining moment in my life. And EGA, that's the abbreviation for Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. For all of you out there in radio land, getting that was just huge, life-changing. I mean, that was one of the few occasions where I think it was justified to shed a tear. But the camaraderie more than anything. I mean, even guys that you just couldn't stand, like a lot of Marines I can't get along with because, we're all the same. You think you're the coolest when obviously I am. So it's challenging, but you come out in the civilian world and you realize, man, people don't like you because of your gender, your race, your sexuality. I can care less. When I was in the Marine Corps, dudes were hooking up with dudes. We didn't care. That was their thing. Whatever. I mean, they called us Brokeback Bravo for a short stint. Now, a whole other story.
That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
It makes me, and even still, I stand by it. I really do think there should be a minimum requirement of some type of military service just so we can try to get past this whole division. I mean, we're really the same. We just got to learn to communicate and deal with each other. And I think being miserable in an enclosed environment like that breeds camaraderie.
Absolutely.
And I've said it several times since we've started this podcast. I've always found it interesting how you can have a Marine who was in K-Bay, Hawaii. You can have a guy who was in the Army at Fort Riley, Kansas. You might have somebody who was in, Japan in the Navy, and you have an airman who was at the air base in Diego Garcia. They all have 4 of these separate things going on, but there's going to be some shared details there because of the kind of stuff they go through, just being miserable or not getting this or not getting that or just all that kind of stuff. I mean, and people don't realize that, like when Alamo and I worked together, at the place that we worked together at. It's like we had all these guys that were kind of military dudes, so we all got along great. What the job was, we all knew what had to be done, and we just did it, and it was fantastic, And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Agreed.
So,
well, and with the Marine Corps, we pride ourselves in our ability to kind of endure misery more than other branches because we do more with less, and that's why I think you see that division between Marines and a lot of other branches. But at the end of the day, I mean, infantry is infantry.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the rest of us are just support, right?
That's what they say.
So I remember I got into an argument with an artillery guy. He was like, "Yeah, we're the king of battle." And I was like, "Yeah, but we actually kick in the doors."
But again, being on the front line, calling an artillery, that's a hell of a thing, isn't it?
I mean, it can be nice, I'm sure.
Or naval gunfire.
Anglico, yeah.
Hey.
So that's kind of let's into the so what types of adjustments, struggles, misconceptions, what kind of issues did you have when you were kind of finding your way now that you had transitioned out of the Marine Corps?
Well, for me, it was a little easier, being that I was being medically retired for injuries that I sustained, all combat related. They put me as part of the Wounded Warrior Battalion. Now, I wasn't living in a battalion barracks. I was still living in 3-9's barracks, India. Yeah, 3-9 India Company. Underneath First Sergeant Toole, I think. Toole, doesn't matter. Either way, so the Wounded Warrior Battalion, they helped with the transition. And if it wasn't for that Wounded Warrior Battalion and the Wounded Warrior program, it would have been so frustrating. I mean, you hear all these horror stories. Well, if you've ever been through it, you understand. By the time you're done, you don't care what they're writing in that packet. You just want to be out of there. And I think that's why I struggled a little bit with my rating at first. But then once they finally rated me, that 100% was there. So going back to the biggest hurdle, getting out and being proactive enough and also acknowledging that there are issues that need to be addressed. The first year, I didn't do a thing. Honestly, the only thing that saved me and made me want to actually start focusing on me, I got a dog. As silly as it sounds, that dog was a commitment piece, and I still have him. His name's Max. He's 11 years old now. Yeah, 11 years old. So he gave me something to come home to, something simple, right? I didn't have, I had family, obviously. I had friends, but no wife, no kids, nothing like that, no long-term girlfriend or any kind. But that helped me meet a girl who got me signed up in college and moved out to Lakeland. I was using benefits out there. Then that led me to meeting some other person who was also a soldier, Army infantry, who got me to the vet center because I couldn't stand the VA. And finding all these veteran outreach programs is actually what got me into the system, not the VA itself.
Awesome. Okay, so what kind of schooling did you said you took that first year off, you got into school, like what did you end up doing? What kind of interested you? Did you have any type of trepidation about like, what am I going to do? Because, I'm sure all of us being, infantry vets here, I remember a guy telling me a story. He's like, especially one of my NCOs that I had, he told a story about this guy. He was filling out a resume at a civilian job, and he's like putting like, section leader for the scout platoon and, staff sergeant, expert, and the guy goes to the guy with the application. He's like, so you're going to ask the customer paper or plastic. They're going to tell you what they want, and then you bag their groceries and put that shit in the cart and haul it out there. You're just like, yeah. I mean, because a lot of times infantry guys, there can be some issues. Guys think, especially like for certain fields, like I know there's been several guys that they think, oh, I was infantry, I can go and do anything I want. Not quite. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing as being military police and trying to switch over to the civilian police side of things. So What
Yeah.
kind of
Oh.
issues or anything did you experience when you
I
got
would
out?
argue against that. I think the infantry prepares you on a higher level than most people realize. I mean, the amount of leadership, not only practice you get, but practical application. You're learning how to lead people in dire situations. You just don't, I don't want to say you don't realize it. I think we have trouble articulating it and getting people to understand what we did. It's easy to say, well, as an infantryman, it was my mission to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire maneuver, right? The mission of the Marine Corps Rifle Squad, well, that's not what you tell them. You tell them you coordinated logistical patrols in a high stress environment while utilizing multi-million dollars worth of equipment.
Alamo, write this down.
That makes perfect sense.
It's about the verbiage, but we don't, they have I always mispronounce this, TEMPS and TAPS program, whatever the heck you want to call it. It's a military transition program for people getting out to get into the civilian world. And I think it's garbage. Not because of a lack of trying, but because it's not practical. They give you all these expectations when really they should be teaching us how to communicate. It needs to be a communication course. How do you articulate again what you've done, and how do you put it into a document that is 1 to 1.5 pages of highlights explaining it in a civilian terminology? So get rid of all that jargon, get rid of all of that, all the acronyms. No one wants to see it. Focus on that military development. I mean, you went through hundreds of hours of leadership courses in any branch. And our infantry guys, that's all they do from the moment they're on the ground. Their first leadership role is probably as an E3 in most branches. So you're leading grown men.
Yeah.
So that's the saying infantry doesn't set you up. That is a horrible misconception, and spread the word. You guys have so much more.
How I put it in my resume, and I tried to be smart about this with some help, obviously. I put direct action specialist with a specialization in training, with a specialization in training and leading individuals in direct combat what you call it,
Operations.
direct combat operations. Yeah.
So I would lose the combat.
Yeah.
Change that to like a high stress, because again, you have this misconception in the civilian world. Oh, these Marine guys, they're triggered easily. They're on the edge, right? They're going to snap. They're going to go postal. People have watched too many
That's
movies.
what they always think. Yeah.
And like, we were talking earlier before the show, hearing guys like your warehouse workers, man, that's ridiculous. There's so much more I would see you doing. Hell, if I can get you on my team right now, I would. I try to, you guys know I'm working with Dan Armstrong. I love veterans, especially guys like that, just because there's so much more. Now, I think I totally lost context of your question. Education. There we go. What did I do? So I took that, and again, still not knowing how to use it, how to articulate it, how to put it into practice. I decided, I'm going to be a PTA, physical therapist assistant. So I went, actually, before I did that, I went for sports medicine. And then while there, I was like, I want to be something cooler than this, because who wants to be a trainer at Gold's Gym? So then I went to physical therapy assistant. I know someone's listening out there saying, I'm a personal trainer. Well, great for you. I'm sure you're good at it. I didn't want to do it. So did the whole.
I went down that road too. It didn't work out too well for me.
So, and again, years later, right? So there's this book called 7 Habits of Effective People. And I think it's habit 2. It starts with, think with the end in mind. So he gives this scenario. It's Stephen Covey. And this, you just made me think of it, right? You're walking into an alleyway. You have 4 ladders, 2 ladders in front of you, 1 ladder on the left and right. You're so focused on time that you don't pay attention to the ladder. You just jump. You have to go up. Just like in life, we have to climb up the ladder, right? Whether it's time, 40-hour on a work clock, or just years in life. You jump on this ladder. You're climbing as fast as you can, not even taking a moment to breathe. You get to the top, you're on the roof, you look around and you realize this isn't even the roof I want to be on. You've spent all this time and effort ending up someplace you never intended to be. Now you have to reset. And that's kind of a defining moment. And I think all of us have been there. And with me and you, We went through that sports medicine piece, PTA piece, and I finally decided, hey, I'm going to go to business school. So I got my bachelor's in business management. I did some more courses in project management. So that not just your traditional waterfall, but also your agile approach, a bunch of certificate programs. I ended up getting my master's in adult education and corporate training. Yeah, and I plan on getting the doctorate as soon as my wife finishes her master's. Well, not as soon, somewhere down the line.
Nice.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Education's key. You have to learn. You have to do that self-reflection. Otherwise, we just get so internalized and it eats you up. And that's when you hear all these statistics, the 22 a day thing. You're focusing on the past. We got to learn to move on, let go. Immerse yourself in school. It's a great way.
So you kind of answered quite a few questions for the post-military stuff, applying military experience and knowledge of civilian workplace. So that's awesome segue into that. And so kind of getting to the end of the interview format here, we're going to kind of go back and just be a little bit reflective for a minute, as you just kind of mentioned. But so you mentioned earlier, what you missed from the service being the camaraderie. What else do you miss, if anything, from being in?
The dress blues, man. I mean, I can still wear them, but I got to shave. The dress blues.
That's a fair answer, man.
Mine still fit.
Oh, man.
The sleeves are a little tight, but the waist still fits, and that's where it counts.
There you go.
And we skipped the whole question about career, man. When you don't care about my job?
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Do you not care about how far I've climbed in corporate America?
Don't do this on my show, on our show. Come on, man.
Left the trenches.
So, okay. My bad. We talked about schooling. Let's go back for a minute because you done fucked up, AA Ron. So anyway, you mentioned for jobs and careers, you ended up you wanted to do PTA, but you switched and kind of ended up going and getting your master's in adult education and business management. Jobs and careers. What did that lead to, and what are you up to now?
Well, like most veterans, especially our infantry guys, are just combative MOS. I don't want to say infantry because there's a lot of MOSs that fall into that bracket. Retail is always your friend. Security is your friend. And I think those are crucial, and people really discredit them. But it teaches you how to talk to people, how to network. Your first retail job, you're going to get fired because you still speak military. It's okay, though. There's another one right down the road.
I'm glad I don't fall into that category because my first retail job, funny enough, was the guy, and he worked there too. The boss that we had, he was Navy enlisted, but he ended up going Mustang and going Marine officer. So he had the big Mameluke sword over his stuff and all that kind of jazz. So, but when we first opened that place, we had a lot of military guys, a lot of guys that were kind of like looking to get into law enforcement. So very similar mentality and all that kind of junk. And it was a great thing because I'm still friends with a shit ton of those guys. Like we all talk on Facebook and catching up with each other and stuff. It's awesome. But I would agree with that, especially just the communication piece, learning how to talk to customers, Well, yeah, that was big.
I would recommend steering away from anything that's a paramilitary mentality. And I bring that up because I think all three of us worked in a local firearm establishment.
Yes. Yeah.
So
you were in another location, but we were at the same one. But
yes. So that, again, it's very paramilitary. There's that mentality that law enforcement is there. I would encourage people to get away from that just so you're in a different type of environment. Now, hell, I sold handbags. I sold purses. I sold suits. You want to talk to people? Sell stuff like that. Sell vitamins. I sold a kid badges that telling him he's great for lactic acid buildup on his muscles. Again, moral compass, it wasn't quite there yet. The communication piece. There.
Okay, so Alma, we were talking about that get together. He was telling me this story in all of its glorious grandeur, and I'm sitting there literally just in tears because this was like, I'm just sitting there going, "This is the best story ever." This is like and just the next story is just amazing. It's fantastic.
So there's all kinds of cool little tidbits there. But that retail piece, again, networking, right? That got me into Bank of America. Bank of America is a horrible job. And if you work there, God bless you. That is horrible, though. That is one of the few jobs I have ever quit. I had this boss. Her name was Shariki. Coolest boss. I came in one day, set my ID on the desk, set my parking pass. I was like, I'm done. She's like, is this your 2 weeks? No, I'm leaving right now. Have a good day. Walked out. Miserable. But that allowed me to meet somebody else who was working at my current company. And I interviewed for an entry-level processor position. And next thing you know, HR loved me, surprisingly, because you can talk to people, right? Communication piece, you can multitask. And then before you know it, I was interviewing with the vice president of operations who hired me the next day. I was actually sitting there in Hillsborough County's recruiting office, getting ready to sign my final conditional offer to become a Hillsborough County deputy. But my current job offered me more money with a better work schedule. And again, as we discussed earlier on in your show here, I am lazy, but I acknowledge that.
Not only acknowledge it, embrace it. That's what's important. Yeah.
I embrace it. You want something done quickly? Find the laziest person you know to do it. They'll get the most efficient and quickest way. Dead serious.
So
y'all, in the raw.
I'm gonna go a little bit off script here. I'm wanting to know when the self-help leadership book comes out, because dude, that's gonna sell like fucking hotcakes.
Oh hell yeah!
It's funny you bring it up, because I've been going back and forth on writing this, and it's just kind of putting together memoirs and little things. But it's called Life of an American, not an American. And chapter 1 is going to be a gentleman's journey. It's going to be my growing up in the Marine Corps and kind of leading out through it. So it is something I would like to do, but I'm trying to develop my craft and really put everything in place before I can kind of get it together and see what happens.
Whatever that journey looks like, and whenever that comes to fruition, I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't even, just off of the vibe from this, please go back to this show and we'll just let you talk this, because this is going to be great for everybody, not just veterans. It'll help veterans, but it's going to help everybody, and it's going to be fucking amazing. It's going to be
and just something for everyone who's listening to remember. And I love little tidbits like this. Just put it in perspective how you want. We are what we repeatedly do. So excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And that's an Aristotle quote. Just let that resonate with you. And remember, if you want to be successful and you want to do something out there, you have to try. You have to go out there. You have to be proactive. If not, and you fall into the habit of, I'm just going to grab one more drink, well, that's what you're going to become. That's a habit for you now. If you're going to cut your corner and say, oh, I don't want to go to the gym today, well, then you're going to get in a bad mood, right? You're going to be depressed, and you're going to have to deal with that later on down the line. If you're a subscriber to another channel for veterans, it's a TV channel. You can put that together on your own. But they call it half-ass actions. So on those days when you're just feeling down and just in the dirt, do a half-ass action. If all you can do is just get out of bed, guess what? Get out of bed, go sit in the sun. The sunlight's going to make you feel better. One step closer. Send a text to someone you haven't talked to in months. So something to think about.
Yeah, man.
And if you're readers, there's all kinds of books. Hit me up. I have tons of stuff that I'd recommend reading.
Nice.
So I think we've, since we've covered the jobs and careers portion of that, going back to the reflective, I don't think I need to have you answer this, because I think the answer is yes. And the question is, would you do it all over again?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, and I wouldn't change a thing about it, because all those crappy actions, all those mistakes, all those misfortunes helped get me to where I am here and now.
Character building.
Yeah, it really, truly is character building. If you immerse yourself in religion or whatever the case may be, you always ask the creator, whatever you call that creator by, whether it's God, Allah, don't care, but you're asking for strength, you're asking for this. Well, to get those items, so strength as an example, if you want strength, you're going to have to deal with a ton of adversity. So being young, being shy, being what you would call a weakling, I always ask for strength. So what's a better adversity than going to war twice? Dealing with that PTSD, dealing with that depression, losing your friends.
Yeah.
And now, dude, there's nothing that can be thrown at me. As of right now, never say never, right? That can kind of derail me.
So the last hit point I want to ask that wants to join the military, in case we have those folks that are interested down the road, what would you say? And I'm dying to hear this sarcastic ass answer. So what would you tell the people down the road they're looking to join in the future? What would be your bit of your little nugget and little gem of advice that you would pass along to the next generation?
Damn nuggets.
It's not going to be what you think. It'll probably be more insightful. Regardless of the branch you choose, the foundational elements that you're going to achieve or that you're going to be given in that branch are going to be crucial in anything you do in life. I would recommend something a little bit more hardcore. Obviously, you can choose the easier route to be treated like a person and say the Air Force or the Navy. But those of us who like that warrior mentality, what we would call 10, 15 years ago being men, which doesn't necessarily your gender, would join the Marine Corps and possibly the Army if you're in the infantry. But do it. Do it. Make the commitment. Don't. And I know we've discussed this and you guys talk about it in other shows. The whole reservist thing is an option. I look at it in a little bit of a different light. If you're young without a family, go full retard, guys. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Do it.
That was it. That was that little piece. I was just like, yes.
Just
Absolutely.
Tropic Thundered. That's just Tropic Thundered it.
You hear it? Remember, folks, you heard it here first. Just
I'm the dude that's playing the
fucking
dude
go full
that think
retard,
he's
man.
the other dude.
But truthfully, it's the best option because you can screw up every single paycheck. And you know what? You're still going to have a place to eat. You're still going to have a place to sleep. You're still going to have a friend. And you're still going to have clothes to wear. These people who do it in a civilian world, live in check to check or don't have those checks, they're homeless. Next thing you know, they're trying to lose sight of reality. So they're doing drugs.
Yeah.
Drinking.
True story.
Never leaving Sefner. How many people do you run in from high school? So opinionated on world events, yet they have never left Sefner or Tampa even,
Yeah.
Like they've never left Florida. How can you have an opinion on something?
Mm-hmm.
So getting that experience to travel, being immersed in other cultures, that's how you learn. That puts things in perspectives. There's so much more to the world than our little American mentality. Which I love America, so don't let it think of. Which I think I had this question with you, Dustin, or not this question, but this conversation with you when I was younger. So 18, 19 years old, I was on a plane coming home on leave. And there's this gentleman. I'm calling him a gentleman now. I didn't call him a gentleman then. Who was discussing the fact that patriotism is a disease. And he was arguing from a place of facts and evidence. Where me, I was 18, 19 years old, ready just to fight whenever I could. Like, this is bull. It's not the case. Patriotism, that's what pushes our country forward. It's good. But looking back as I've gotten older, I see the concept. It's not that he's saying patriotism itself is a disease, but that mentality. It's humanity. It's one blood. It's more than just a border.
Yeah.
Don't interpret that as any kind of political argument by any means.
No, but it also just you can go back. It's kind of how your perspective on things change as you go through, and you have those life defining moments. Just like when you talked about getting your EGA. That's going to change your perspective on a lot of different things, and it's kind of like I was explaining. I just thought of this, man. It was crazy. Like I was explaining to my daughter, like goofy little things, about like the military, like how when we were all in, like how you had to earn certain things, like when I was in the Army going through basic, you didn't get to wear a high and I know I'm pointing to this mop top Navy chief looking mess here. You didn't get to wear a high and tight until you graduated, until you got your cross rifles pinned on. Other than that, They shaved your head every 2 weeks. It's like, zzz, this is all gone. And I was just trying to show her, to understand you got to count the little things here and there. You can't just give up if you don't get it. Sometimes you have to kind of have that long-term goal kind of stuff like you were talking about earlier. But it was just like, it was kind of funny. It was just like, man,
Well, it's all about putting first things first, starting with the big things, and then letting it fill in with the meaningless nonsense. And
absolutely.
then
So,
for like the veterans listening, and guys, get involved with Wounded Warrior Project. It's no longer just wounded combat veterans. It's anybody, especially if you're in the Florida area. Tampa has a huge Wounded Warrior presence. They get so much funding and so much stuff that they had to open up their ranks. So if you haven't joined, sign up now. It's very simple to do. I think you just have to verify with a DD-214. Don't quote me on that. I just, from what I remember. But yeah, get involved. They'll help you network. They'll help you transition. They'll help you with any kind of disability assistance. They have an office right here in Tampa. That's off of, I think it's Falkenberg. Maybe not even that far. It's right before you get to the retail establishment that we all worked at on 301.
oh, is it at the Veterans Park there?
Yes.
I used to live right by Falkenberg.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah. So there's
Paradise Village.
Yeah.
He remembers.
Yeah, so that office he's talking about, there's actually a really cool Veterans Park. It's right over there. It's on 301, just south of MLK. Before you hit the canal, you take the bridge over the canal right before the Dallas Bowl stuff. But yeah, absolutely. You can't see it, like, folks, like, that park is awesome. Like, just go walk around that park and see that stuff. They've laid it out really nice. They got a lot of nice stuff in there. So,
and put down the phones, put down the social media, get out there and get some sunlight. The world's not going to end.
Yeah.
Huge. Well, everybody, this is exactly what I thought was going to be and more. So, Mr. Lee, we appreciate you taking part. We want to thank you so much for being on here. We set the bar pretty high with this one, man. It's like the next one.
Not to brag, but inviting me, a Marine, a sergeant of Marines, just that, as one of your first guests, that's you kind of peaked. So I'm throwing it out there, guys.
We got some other. We got some other ones that are gonna peak in different ways, but it's all gonna be good.
Oh yeah.
From being completely serious and being completely, all the nonsense side, I know I speak for Alamo here, but I want to thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be a part of this. This is something that has just appreciate being on here, and thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday night and coming on here and telling some stories and doing some other stuff. But
I had a blast, guys.
I appreciate it, man.
To come back.
Absolutely. So open invitation. So yeah, awesome stuff. So Alamo, I think it's time we start wrapping it up, man. Let's let Mr. Debonair over here go in the back.
Pop smoke.
Pop and smoke. Later, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy. That was awesome. That's the best thing we've done on this show. Well, that's one of the best things we've done on this show. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Good night, Cynthia. Bye. Sorry, I'm going to talk too much.
Yeah.
So we're going to start closing this out like we normally do.
Absolutely.
As we talked about, and we've talked about many times on here, we started this, when a friend of ours, he lost his battle, lost a fight with suicide. And, we want to kind of help, other veterans, show them that, one, they're not alone, and that, two, they have a support group that they can call upon and all that kind of junk, all that kind of stuff. Excuse me, I don't know why that's junk. But when we came up with the show, we were thinking about what we could do to help other people. So we came up with our kind of like our mantra, our calling card, and that's the Battle Bros Code. So it's easy to remember. You got to remember the letter OS. So we're going to go through each of those right now. So be tenacious. Like Mr. Lee talked about, like Brent talked about here a minute ago, go full retard. Freaking when you do stuff, like, just go for that, go and do it to the fullest, do it to your best of your ability. Don't necessarily make it a half-ass action. That's a good time. There's a time and a place for the half-ass action, as he mentioned. But Be tenacious. When you do something, do it to the fullest and be bold, that kind of stuff. R, refuse to surrender. No matter what happens, there's going to be times you get sideways. You get off topic, you get off track, you get, a little bit distracted. Remember what you're trying to do. Remember what you're trying to accomplish, and don't take no for an answer. I had a very good friend of mine, say that it's okay to say. One of the things that they told me that they were working on this year was to say no more often. And, that kind of applies to what we're talking about here. It's like sometimes you got, for the sake of your own mental health or the sake of your own just well-being, you got to say no, because, you can stretch yourself out. But for this too, refusing to surrender, say no. Say no. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. Hit the X and hit the OBJ and make it all happen. So keep that in mind. Obliterate your obstacles. Kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. When you have obstacles get in your way, sometimes you got to remember, you got to go over them, you got to go around them, you got to go under them. Sometimes, if you got floors, look through that stuff, keep on going, make it happen. Don't settle. Make it happen. Get through those obstacles and drive on. All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Lastly, S. Seek out a friend in need. There's a lot of people that have friends, Even like Brent said, if you have the opportunity, make a text and talk to somebody you haven't talked to in months, make that reconnection. It's crucially important. We want to make sure everybody that served their country has a story to tell. We want to keep them around. We are a pretty big subculture of society, people that have served, and it kind of, if you look at the trends, like it gets kind of smaller as it goes on, so it becomes a little bit more special. Like World War II, you had a ton of people that served, and then going into Korea, and then Vietnam, and then Desert Storm, and then now us. I think at one point I saw it was like 0.045% of the populace served in, I believe it was Iraq, Afghanistan, compared to the total population, and I could be misquoting that, but
I thought it was like 1.4.
It might be. It might have gone up or something.
I thought it was. I don't know.
Regardless, like when things happen in life, you need to reach out to the folks that are close to you. Like,
damn right.
It's important. We're not meant to be, solitary creatures. We have a social structure. We have, those needs to socialize with other people in our lives and whatnot, and that's very, very, very important. So remember that, the biggest thing that we're trying to do is to stop this from being a thing. I don't want that to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. And kind of to just bring it back full circle with what we talked about at the beginning of the show. That's why I seek out a friend in a time of need. That's why that's so important. If it can be prevented, that's what we want to try to do. And we got to stop this. We got to try to do everything we can to make it stop. People need to know that they count, that they matter, and that we want them here. So,
yeah.
Alamo, I'm going to let you kind of sign this one off, dude. But say what you want to say and kind of add on or tack on or whatnot. But
absolutely. So, folks, if you like what you see here on the show, we do encourage you to go ahead and hit that like button. Make some comments down in the comment section below to make sure that the YouTube algorithm recognizes us so you can continue to get more content and we can continue to be distributed along the platform. But if you also want to catch us on any other audio platforms, you can catch us over on the Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, CastBox, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Stitcher. If you'd like to catch us on the social media, you can catch us over on Facebook at facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. You can also catch us on the Insta at battlebros_podcast. Other than that, folks, we really don't have anything else for you tonight. and again, when it comes to the loss of a friend and things of that nature, obviously, um, we're doing all we can to try and prevent more loss amongst our community, because it's difficult when you lose somebody, especially someone that you serve with. A lot of the guys, you get that bond where it can be almost as if they're like your family, your blood brother, and that's just how it feels. And again, I realized last night that I lost a friend of mine, and it sucks, man. It sucks. Considering I had just spoken to him not too long ago, it was probably within a month or two. Um, and I knew he was hurting, um, but I didn't know how bad. It was never really stressed all that much to me. Um, but again, the full details as to what happened to him were not 100%. So I will be finding out those details myself from others that are doing the research, and hopefully be able to go see the procession. So in the meantime, watch out for each other. Keep yourselves in touch. Don't lose track of your buddies. Do not lose track of your battle buddies, and keep your family close to you, even if it's a conversation. Just having a conversation can be just as good as having them right next to you. Don't lose contact. Keep in touch. That's all we got for you guys. And as always, this has been the Battle Bros podcast. This has been Alamo
and Mac. Thank you for watching. Thank you for thank you for spending an hour with us. Hour plus, hour and 20 minutes. Thank you for spending some time with us on a Friday night. We hope to see you next week. And until then, we're signing off. And thank you. We love you. And we will see you the next time around. So, have a good night.
Battle Bros out.